right, so what I'm going to try to do here is to actually, if you deal with one of the last example that I gave for you guys over here, this exercise 5B, and I'm actually going to do something here which, you know, most of you probably, just to kind of avoid any confusion, I'm going to avoid any 2A section. I'm just going to call it exercise 2, and I'm going to go ahead and address this one as exercise 3, and I will go over there and call this is 4, this is 5. That way there's no any confusion here, you know. So there you go. So the key here for you guys is I'm going to be looking at this one in particular. All right, and I know some of you guys have some questions in the class. I hope to record this video session for those of you that are not here, and I believe outside of that there is nothing here that we have not done, you know, in the class. This is the only one, and I'm going to record this video so you could actually see that. For example, I've asked you guys to, you can use any naming convention you choose, you know, that's going to be your call. For my lab video here is what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using this configuration at the top here. I'm going to use my virtual network address space. I'm going to use this. Okay. For my default subnet, I'm going to use this. For my gateway subnet, I'm going to use this. You don't have to use that. And then for my VPN gateway, I'm going to use this. Here are the 3 or 5 steps that I'm going to take. I'm going to create a virtual network. You're going to see that. I'm also going to create a VPN gateway. I'm going to configure a VPN point-to-point. I'm going to create a certificate for the gateway. Otherwise, you know, clients are not going to trust this gateway. I'm also going to install the public certificate of this certificate that I installed earlier here on the client, and then I'm going to actually test them. Okay, so without wasting any much time, I'm going to flip over to my board here, and I'm going to go ahead and start out by installing a virtual switch. All right, if you have any question, let me know. So here's my virtual switch, and I'm going to go ahead and create a virtual switch, and I'm going to call it Century. Okay, and I'm going to accept this one, but here I'm going to use, you will see that if I were to go with 24, I only have a 256 address for my host, but I'm going to have, I'm going to need more address for the host for this, so I'm going to have 65,000 here. That gives me a little bit more, and I'm going to create something, I'm going to call it Century. No, just be creative and call it 100. Same thing as Century. Alright, I'm going to use my East US as my location, and I'm going to use my default subnet to be 24. Okay, 16 for my address space, my default subnet to be this. I like to kind of pin them to the dashboard so I can run with this. So this is gonna start you know, the creation, and then so this is done. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and create a default gateway subnet. Okay, that's very important if somebody is going to be able to connect to that thing from outside. All right, otherwise it will not work. So I'm going to go, okay, you can see this one is grayed out because you can only have one gateway for a particular subnet. So this is been done here. So this is done. Okay, at this point I'm more or less okay with this section. I'm going to go ahead and go to my new here, and with what I've already entered over here, I'm going to go ahead and create my virtual network gateway. Alright, so, and you will see that over here if you enter something like virtual, you know, network, you know, gateway. Yes, it's over here. I'm going to go ahead and create, and here I'm going to call it you know, Century gateway. Alright, I'm using VPN over here, and I'm saying it's route based. Okay, I'm going to choose a virtual network, okay, to associate this gateway to.
Okay.
and through this gateway I'll be able to connect to every devices on that virtual switch. I'm going to create a public IP address for it. That's what we're going to be using. Okay. So I'm going to keep it in the same location zone. I'm going to go ahead and create this one. These especially takes a lot of time. This does take a lot of time, so you should be aware of that. Okay. So in the meantime, one of the things I'm going to do in order to save my time is I'm going to go ahead and create a virtual machine, because I'm going to need it for my testing later on. And I'm going to call this virtual machine, let's call it college. Sorry, I'm just going to browse down over here, and I'm going to use 2012 server R2 here, because I want to show you how to download and install PowerShell version 5 on this thing. So I'm going to call this college, and I'm going to call my admin 555 and capital P at SSW0RD12345. You can use any password you use. 12345. And then I'm going to make sure I put it in the same resource group that I put the other ones, and I'm going to go and say okay. Don't panic, sometimes you set this thing up and then they fail. I wouldn't worry about it. Just go ahead and do it again. It's happened to me a couple times. You can see, because I only have only one virtual switch in this zone, it automatically associated with Century, which is the name of the virtual switch in that zone. And then the subnet the default subnet we selected, that's what we have over here. There's a college IP over here, it automatically has it. Then we have the network security group, which is there. Don't do anything with that. You can click OK. And this guy is going to go ahead and create. As I've said earlier on, this virtual network gateway does take quite a bit of time. That's probably going to be the last item in our setup here that we're going to configure. While we're looking at that, I might probably quickly mention to you that if you look at your D2L, I actually included a file. I call it cert command. You are totally free to use this command. This file here consists of all the 5 commands you're going to use or you're going to need when you want to create a certificate and configure it, and also the client certificate. You don't have to do this, but this is an option for you. You can decide to go and use a certificate that you create when you're trying to install a DFS. The choice is totally yours. But I just thought that you should know that you have that up. Alright, so you can see that my machine is VM machine is completed, and right now I'm going to try and connect to it. And one of the things I'm going to do here is I'm going to I'm going to try and download PowerShell 5 into this system. Okay. And the first thing you want to do is to disable this enhanced security configuration on here. So you go to OK. Otherwise it will make it awfully difficult for you to browse the internet. You can always verify it, even though it's not refreshed. Don't worry about that. And then the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up my browser here, and I'm going to go to Google. and I'm going to say PowerShell, and I'm recording this so you can always you know, go back and watch this video a little bit later on your own. You can see I'm downloading this PowerShell here, and gonna go download. I'm selecting this option because that's the option that has the 2012 server on it. I'm gonna go ahead and save as. I save it to my desktop, and I'm gonna go ahead and run it. Say yes at this point, and it's going to go accept, and it's going to go ahead and download. And once the download is finished, more often than not, you're going to need to restart this machine, and from here on you should be able to you know, connect to the internet. And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to have one person in the class to come and log on here once I fully have everything installed, so you can actually, you know, test it and check it out, make sure you're good to go. And in order for you to be able to successfully complete exercise 5, you will need to go and practice this, you know, virtual network protocol. You will need to go practice that, especially this exercise here. The exercise here that says create a point-to-site VPN. You really have to practice that, because if you can do that, then that question is going to be a piece of cake for you. So it's still installing, and once it's finished, it's going to restart. And as you can see now, it's going to ask me to restart. I'll lose my connection for a little while, but then I'll go back and connect later. You can see I told you about this one takes a lot of time. Sometimes on the average take about 45 minutes to finish the installation, so it's not a cakewalk. And when you are done using it, you probably want to delete it off because you don't need it. So you can see now, I think this one is already started. So I'm going to go ahead and connect. If it doesn't go the first time, I just wait for a little bit more and make sure this thing is fully restarted. It looks like it's not fully restarted. Okay, try it again. And this time around, I don't need to go and download another you know, VM here. Just go to my desktop. I've got the link here. Download and try. And it looks like it's up now. Profile. And there you go. And I've got I'm going to try and expand the screen so you can see what I'm doing here. So if you look at it right now, the next thing I'm going to do is part of your lab exercises here. I'm actually going to show you why we had to go and install these. If you look at the command you have on the exercise that I asked you guys to practice, if you come over here and just copy these and you power up your system here and you run PowerShell, right? Right now, I'm going to run login Azure. And you can see, this guy doesn't understand it. Okay? So we need to kind of import the module. See what you're looking over here, this is a login command into Azure Resource Manager account. PowerShell doesn't understand that. PowerShell needs to import the module. So if you go back to the first, think on the second page here, you will have something that says import install module. Okay? So then you will come here. I'm going to clear the screen right now and just install this module. Now, if you had run this install module command without first of all installing the PowerShell version 5, this would have failed essentially. So I'm going to press yes here to go on and install, and then it's going to come up with another dialog, and I'm just going to say yes to all. So I'm going to use A, and I'm going to press enter. And by that simple act alone, I would I'm going to see if I can install my Frontier to something a little bit, say maybe 14, or click OK. It's a little bigger just for you to see it. So you can see you are installing the modules from an untrusted repository. That's okay. I trust it. And then I decided to change my installation policy, yes for all, to allow me to kind of install that. And now I have that. Okay. Now if I go back and say install login into Azure account, this guy should understand it now. And I'm going to have you enter your, you see now it brings up this shell. Enter your Azure login account here. I'm actually asking somebody in the class now to enter their Azure login account into this place. Press enter, next. And so enter a student ID or start ID, whatever that is. So you can see now that now you have logged in, and it tells you here is your subscription name. It's free trial. Okay, that's your subscription name. That's your account. See that? That now the module that you install into PowerShell now allow PowerShell to be able to understand Azure command. So now when you come over here to this section here at the bottom here, and you start out by typing something like this. Now Azure know what you're talking about, right? So for example, with your credentials, so you run the Azure select blah blah, you enter your name command, which is kind of really, you know, the same thing that we're talking about earlier on. You know, you could come over here and copy something like this. And here's another thing I'll probably tell you. Sometimes you might find it a little bit difficult to copy files. There are a few times that I've done, you know, being a little more creative in terms of what I do. One easiest option which you will find useful, especially since you're going to be working in this environment quite a bit. Let me see if I can paste this one if I have my paste stuff going on. It's not pasted. What I just do is to copy my file, my actual file, and put it over here. So instead of copying across, I just move it over here, and then from there I can type. Okay. So I'll show you an example of what I mean right now, and I'm kind of diverging right now, but my installation is still going on. So I would. So if you copy an actual file and you drop it over here, so that is that file. Now you don't need to be copying back and forth, right? And you can go to your Google here, and you're going to need to download Adobe Reader. So go to Google here, and I'll just say Adobe Reader, you know, Adobe Reader here. Server English. Make sure you don't install stuff here, junks that you don't need. And essentially I'm just kind of installing Adobe Reader here to help me through, you know, just
Read the file.
so to be able to read that file, so I don't have to copy back and forth, because sometimes it just so happen that, you know, things don't work the way you want it to work. My other virtual network gateway is probably finished now, but I'm not sure. But I just want to kind of finish this thread, and then we're going to jump back to where we were before. So you can take a look at this right now, and here's the file that I put over here. So look at the file now. Now it's just a very trivial thing for me to copy this file here. I can just copy the file here, right? Or select the name here. So I can copy the file, select Azure subscription name, and I know what the subscription name is here. That's the name. Go over here and copy. And here I can just go over here and go and paste. And if I press enter, see, so good to go. And I grab this. So when I come over here and I create, if I press copy here, see, now you have just created a virtual network now called VNet1.
Okay.
But I'm using PowerShell to create it, so it's very, very, very important. So now I've just created a virtual network now called VNet1. I can go back over here and create over here a subnet name, call it, you know, front end, and that is it. And I can go on and on and on like that to continue to run it. It's actually a lot faster to get this thing done when you're using PowerShell than when you're using Windows, because you're essentially once you define all your stuff, it's pretty easy. Let's take a look at so you can see my virtual network is still going. That's why I gave you guys an advice earlier on. Start it early, otherwise it can be a bit painful because of the time it takes to get provision. So don't forget that, very important. I can grab my gateway here, my subnet, my gateway subnet name, coming over here, and then as I'm typing all these things, it's going to be creating all these in the background. Alright guys, so I think the gateway is done now. So the next thing I'm going to do with the gateway is I'm going to go and do the point-to-site configuration. I'm going to go ahead and say configure now, and like what I had here out earlier, here is the IP address range for my point-to-site. Now you can use anything you want here. You don't have to use this. This is the range of IP address that will be handed over for someone that is connecting from outside. If I really don't want anything closer, like 10 dot whatever, I can actually go ahead and use 172. For example, I can come over here and say I'm going to use 172.16.5.0/24. It's totally your call. Doesn't have to be anything. Now the next thing, we're getting to the interesting part of it. I can call this one college, you know, CVF college, or cyber space college. That's the name of my VPN. Now I have to generate a certificate. Okay, that's why I gave you this command earlier on, you know, and I attached it on D2L that you could use it. Now these commands are good if you're on Windows 10. If you're not on Windows 10, you might have to manually use the certificate that you created when you install your certificate authority. So for those of you that are using Windows 10, this is going to be a really easy solution for you. You're going to come over here and copy the first one. There's the first command here, and I go to copy. Don't copy the number here, this is just a label. And I post this one here, press enter. Just like that. You can see now I have a problem here. The problem is I'm trying to run a PowerShell command from a command prompt and it doesn't work. So I come over here and type PowerShell, and I have my PowerShell here, and when I do the same thing, now it works. So grab the second one, and you don't need to pass. When you see pound sign, it's just a comment to let you know what this command is doing. So I'm not copying this, come over here and paste. Then the third one here is I'm gonna go ahead and convert the exported certificate to base 64 string. And over here, the third one is I'm going to copy to clip. Before I need to kind of copy it to something of this format. It's already been created, but the command here, I'm just saying pipe this certificate, public certificate, into a clip so I can copy it out. So when I press clip here now you would see, let me go back and show you something real quick here. Interesting. See, now I can paste it now because it's been copied to my file. So I'm going to come over here, go to my spot over here, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, on my public certificate data area, I'm going to paste it. Okay, so I'm going to paste this thing out here. That's what I've just done. That's all the file that I've just done. I've copied it and pasted it here, and what I've pasted is this command that is right here. Alright, and then I'll go over here and go to save. And once this file is fully saved, I will have this option, download VPN client, enabled. Alright, so you can see now I've saved it, and now I can go ahead and click download VPN client. So I've clicked download VPN client. Can go and minimize to see if I have something somewhere here. See that? That's Century Gateway. See that? So I can come over here and then save. And I have this file here. I'm going to extract it all. Extract. That's the file I'm going to select it for because of my system here. And I'm going to go and I'm going to say more information, run it anyway. And I'm going to have go ahead and install. And that's done. And just like that, what I have now is, if you look on your base here, you would see, you know, my VPN here. See that? That's the name we call it. We call it Century. That's the name of the switch I'm trying to connect to, the virtual network. If I click this now and go to connect, If I select connect now, you will see it's not going to go through anyway. You're going to see some issues here. See that a certificate could not be found that can be used with this, extensible authentication protocol. You understand that? The reason that would not work is because, number one, I don't have a corresponding certificate that matches the certificate that we generated on the VPN server here, and that will take you to the fifth command that I placed here. If you copy that command, the goal is to create the client certificate. So you copy here and you go ahead and create the client certificate here, press enter, and now I've created a client certificate here. Alright, so and I'm done with this one right now, and I go back here again and click Century and go to connect. Century, go to connect, and now when I say connect here, I have a certificate now. It should go. Done. Okay, if you look at it now, it's showing I'm connected. I can come over here as a matter of fact and look at my IP config, and now you can see the 172 address range that I have here. That's my IP address that I was issued from that VPN. We can actually even test it now. So remember that there is the machine that I have in the domain controller. Remember that the IP address of this machine here, let me take a look at it. The IP address of this machine, IP config, is 10.1.0.4. I'm going to try and ping that machine from my system here. Here's my local system here. I'm going to go and ping 10.1.0.4. You might notice that this thing is going to time out. That doesn't mean my system is not working. It's actually working. You want to make sure that your firewall is not on this system. So a quick check that I'm going to do now is to go to this place, my server page, as we often do. On the server page, go to the local server and make sure your firewall is temporarily turned off, just so I can make sure that I am good to go. Turn on my firewall, okay, and then minimize this, bring this up again, and you can see now. So now from my local system now, I have what they call a point to the cloud site. That's why they call it point-to-site. My machine now is directly connected to this VM that is in the cloud. So if you look up on this page now, go back here, not this place. I have a page open earlier. So now I'm able to connect and ping to this machine called Collect directly. As a matter of fact, I don't even have to connect. Remember, I've been connecting to this Collect PC using the public IP address 52.222 and so on and so forth, right? At this point, I can say I can close this button and I can directly connect to it from my local machine now. MCSTMS. So see over here, I can just come over here and enter 10.1. Let me look at the IP address again. 10.1.0.4, 10.1.0.4. See that? I can directly connect to this machine now using a private IP address because of the VPN that I have now connected. From my machine now, I can just connect to that machine. See that now? You see the IP address I'm connecting now using a local IP address, a private IP address, because my VPN here has been configured to take care of the business. Alright? So I'm going to place this video on D2L. Feel free to watch this video again, and these are the steps that you need to complete For this question you have on the final side, which I think is a question 6, I believe. Yeah, question SI 6. That's what you have to do. All right. Thank you, guys.